You have questions, I have answers. Folks, you are in good luck because it is mailbag time here on Seahawks Today. And you may be wondering, well, how do I get involved in these mailbags, subscribe to the channel and all that? Well, you got to subscribe and then join us for our live shows. But here's what you really ought to do. You should turn on notifications as well. Open up your phone, go to your settings app, scroll down, tap YouTube, tap notifications, turn on allow notifications, and you will be the first to know anytime we go live. Our live show on Wednesday, we had to go live a little bit early, and people that had notifications turned on, they knew that. So turn on notifications, and you'll never miss a moment here on Seahawks Today. First question comes from Nicholas. We should trade down at 5 with the Colts or Panthers. We need more picks next year so we can draft one of these quarterbacks next year. Nicholas, great question. Rolly and I were talking about this earlier, that you look at next year's quarterbacks. The top two for sure, Caleb Williams and Drake May, are better than any of the quarterbacks in this year's class. And this year's class is a lot better than last year's class, but next year is going to be even better as far as I'm concerned there. And so in a perfect world, but, I mean, this is everything would have to go right for this to happen. In a perfect world, I think you trade back from the number 5 position, as Nicholas is talking about here, for a team that needs a quarterback, stockpile pick for next year, still pick at like 8 or 9 or whatever that is, and then next year, potentially, if you have to, package your 2 first-round picks because you still have your own, and then go get a Caleb Williams or a Drake May potentially. That'd be great, but a lot of stuff would have to go right in order for that to work. A lot of dominoes have to fall your direction. Mark Sanchez, the one and only, writes in, would you trade for Myles Garrett, Joey Bosa, Shaq Thompson, or Josh Allen from the Jags? Not Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback. So Myles Garrett, Joey Bosa, and Josh Allen are going to come with a hefty price with what they bring to the table. All 4 of these are very good players, by the way. And all 4 of them would be an improvement for the Seahawks defense. When I look at with Garrett, Bosa, and Allen, the price tag might be a little bit too high as far as what those teams would demand and also what you have to pay those guys. The one that's interesting is Shaq Thompson, though, because you look at the market for off-ball linebackers. Remember Roquan Smith, who was a steal of a trade for Baltimore. They gave up, what, like a 2nd and a 5th? Shaq Thompson met, what, maybe a 3rd and the 6th potentially? To me, that's the one that's intriguing, where it doesn't break your bank too much to bring in Shaq Thompson as opposed to the other 3 potentially. But the Seahawks do need all the help they can get on the defense. All of them would certainly be welcome in Seattle as far as I'm concerned. Gary the Snail writes in, will Jamal Adams be back next year? It's a very good question, Gary the Snail. I'll say this. Jamal Adams, I think that the way things work out for this Seahawks team, okay, Jamal Adams is in a position with the way his contract is structured where, as frustrating as he may be for the Seahawks for the lack of time he's been on the field, and I understand, trust me, I understand why you may be upset, Seahawks fans. I get it, totally. Don't get me wrong on that. It doesn't make sense to move on from him. It doesn't make sense to cut him. You're not going to get much in trade for him. You're still best off bringing him back. Now, it could be a different role. You could play him at linebacker potentially and go with another guy at safety, a Ryan Neal or a Josh Jones or something like that, but it just doesn't make sense if you cut him, of what you have to pay him and still what he counts against the cap and all that. I think it still makes sense to bring back Jamal Adams next year, believe it or not. Is it time to move on from Jamal Adams? What say you? Be honest with me. You can get real in that comment section. If you hate Jamal Adams, you want to see the Seahawks move on, that's fine. Let me know. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Is it time for Seattle to move on from Jamal Adams? Jose writes with a $2 super chat. Franchise tag Geno, trade 5th pick. I don't like the idea of franchise tagging Geno. If you have to, I understand. But in a perfect world, you get Geno on a 2 or 3 year deal somewhere between 50 to 65% guaranteed. Trading the number 5 pick, that sounds nice if you can still get another first-round pick this year. If you're moving back, let's say, from 5 to 9, and then have a pick next year that you get in the trade as well, to me, that makes sense. But if you're just going to lose that pick and not have another first-round pick you gain this year, then I'm kind of out on that, if that makes sense. Cookie Monster writes, if it comes down to Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, who do you prefer? I love both defensive players, by the way. Both of them stars in the SEC. Will Anderson at Alabama, Jalen Carter at Georgia, just outstanding football players. And I think anyone that drafts either one of these two guys, they are going to be lucky to have either guy personally. The Seahawks probably would need Jalen Carter more, but I think Will Anderson is the better player, if that makes sense. But it's not a huge talent gap. And so I'll put it this way. Where the Seahawks are at 5, you would take either one if one of them slides to you. And I saw a mock from The Athletic that had Will Anderson going to Seattle at 5 this week, which I just loved seeing that, by the way. I'm sure you guys felt the same way, too. I prefer Will Anderson, but with where the Seahawks are positioned at 5, you're lucky if either one of them is still there. You'd take either one as far as that concerns. But I prefer Will, but it's not like there's a wrong answer, if that makes sense. Pick 1 to draft, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. If you were John Schneider and both guys are on the board and you can take either one, who are you going with? Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. Type WA for Will Anderson. Type JC for Jalen Carter. Let me know in the comments section. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code Seahawks125, you'll get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet. You can bet on the Super Bowl. You can also bet on some college basketball, NBA, and more. Whatever you're feeling, get your bets in today. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Seahawks125. $2 Super Chat. Is there enough salt from the Cowboys loss? Isn't there enough salt? So, in case you missed on our live show, we went on a little early this week because of some weather there in Dallas. And me and Rolly, we were talking about how in Dallas they haven't put salt on the roads, and it has been a pain to try to drive around here. And I love that we can make a Dallas Cowboys joke, that we can find a way to sneak that in here on today's show of the salt being from the Cowboys loss. Because how about them Cowboys, right? I'm so glad the Cowboys did not go very far in this postseason. Even though the Seahawks aren't around, the Cowboys losing still feels pretty good. So, with that said, yeah, maybe it is. You may got a good point there, Taker. JVB says, do you get Lamar Jackson or CJ? Lamar Jackson is a very interesting one because not only does Lamar, or if he gets traded, have to be paid a lot of money. Well, he'd have to get paid a lot of money if he stays in Baltimore anyway. That's beside the point. Lamar is going to be owed a lot of money wherever he goes. And all the draft capital, if he is going to be traded, it is going to be a haul of what it's going to take, somewhere around the Russell Wilson range from last year. Meanwhile, C.J. Stroud, you have to use the number 5 pick. I would personally, if you're making me choose between the two situations, I would go with the younger quarterback and C.J. Stroud and not have to pay Lamar Jackson, give up all that draft capital. I would take the chance on the quarterback on the rookie contract. Remember, the last Super Bowl the Seahawks had was Russell Wilson on the rookie contract and building the team around him. And we've seen over time the best recipe to win a Super Bowl is when your quarterback is on the rookie contract. That is precious time that you can't get back. So JVB, if you made me choose in those circumstances, I'm going C.J. Stroud. Mr. Biggs, who I've been told is related to DK Metcalf. Don't know if I buy that one. We need a D-line early in the draft, not a running back quarterback like everyone's saying. Hey, I hear you. Definitely need help on the defensive line. If the Seahawks could have figured out how to stop the run, They very well might have won the NFC West this year. In actuality, that defensive line issues were just brutal for this team. They're going to need some help. They're going to need some defensive line help, and they'll find it here in this draft. Still flying. Will Sean Payton fix Russ in Denver? I look at that situation. I lean towards no, but if anybody can, it's Sean Payton, as far as I'm concerned. Sean Payton's got the best shot to fix Russell Wilson of anybody out there. Remember, he worked with Drew Brees, who, of course, was at a similar stature to Russell Wilson. He had been through his ups and downs when he was with the Chargers before coming to New Orleans. So it seems like a good fit for Russ to be playing with Sean Payton there, but we'll see how it plays out. I lean towards no, but we'll see what happens there. I'm very curious, before we wrap up here, for all you guys watching, are you rooting on Russ? Now that the Seahawks aren't playing the Broncos, we were all waiting for that first game last year when they wrote off Geno, but he didn't write back, and when he beat Russell Wilson, that was a great moment and everything. Are you rooting on Russ? What do you think of him in Denver? Is he cooked or is he not cooked? A little play on words there for you. What do you think about Russ's situation? Is he done for? Is he washed? Let me know in the comment section. Type C for cooked. Type NC for not cooked as far as what you think of Russell Wilson goes there in Denver. And are you rooting for him or not? I'm very curious. Now that they're not playing each other, are you rooting for the former Seahawks quarterback? Let me know in the comments section. Non-stop Seahawks coverage each and every day here on the channel. We're talking about your Seattle Seahawks. We are also touching on the days counting down to the draft, trades, free agency. We do live shows every week. This is the place to be. If you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe for free. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. Never miss a moment.